professors up there, he said, you know, I love Eisenman's book about Mandate Palestine and the law and so on and so forth. I wish he'd stuck to that subject. I don't know if that's a compliment or an insult, but anyway, it was a very dull subject, but it was an interesting book. And anyway, I'm trying to summarize this quickly for you so you understand a little bit of the history. So they cut 2/3 of the mandate away and gave it to Abdullah because they were embarrassed about what happened to Faisal, but Abdullah had nothing to do with Transjordan either. And that family is still there. That's called the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan. It became Jordan when after 48 the army moved, it was called the Jordan Legion that was trained by British officers, moved into Palestine when the war began between the Jews and the Arabs over the partition plan from the UN in 1947 and 1948. And then the Jordanian Legion came in and took part of the country. So it was not now Transjordan, it was on both sides of the Jordan, so it became Jordan. And that lasted till the Six-Day War, 1967. So, the present king is called Abdullah, and he's the son of King Hussein, so they keep the names in the family. Why are they called Hashemites? Because Hashem is the clan of the prophet, and the pretense of the Sharif of Mecca was that he was a descendant of the prophet. So therefore, the family of the Banu Hashem are the family of the prophet, and the pretense is that we're descendants of the prophet. Yeah.
Is it Hashem slightly mean like the name? Or
That's Hebrew. That's Hebrew. This is Hashem, H-A-S-H-I-M, actually, originally. But as it gets into English, it becomes Hashemite, but it's nothing to do with Hashem. Hashem is what religious Jews who don't want to pronounce the name of God say the name. The name, Ha-the-Shem, name. Some of them will say Elohim instead of Elohim. That's pushing it to my mind. I don't think God minds if I pronounce his name a little bit, if he even exists out there. So I think that, but it shows a certain amount of respect, awe, a point beyond which you don't want to go, and so on. Anyway, I got to go back to this Hashemite thing because I'm trying to fill in some pieces here for you. So you'll understand what happened in the Peel Commission here. So in these mandates, which the British illegally changed themselves and was never confirmed by international law, but everyone recognizes it, the thing that no one questions is Jordan. And Jordan just walks away with all the marbles, and nobody ever says, oh, how come Jordan's there? And they just assume that it belongs there. No, it doesn't belong there. The British created it out of whole cloth, out of the mandate, caused the Palestine problem. There probably wouldn't be a Palestine problem without Jordan. And I'm not against Jordan. It's a civilized country because the British kept control of it and trained everybody there. But you see, what's happened with the mandate is that the Palestinians have now got 2 states out of the mandate, not one. They've got 2. They've got Jordan, and now they want Palestine too. So you see, it never ceases. It becomes more demands, more demands, more demands. And the world, being basically unsophisticated as far as these things go, doesn't realize that all these things have occurred contrary to international law anyway. Well, be that as it may, the Jordanian monarchy are the biggest war profiteers. But they're nice people, so nobody blames them. They're civilized, and they don't cut people's heads off and stuff like that. But they have an absolute control there. They don't. It's a police state. In fact, when I lived on the West Bank after the '67 war, I was living in '68 to '73 in the territories and rented Arab houses. So I was doing this book on Islamic law there. The people, I got very friendly with everybody there, and they used to laugh. They said, oh, you Israelis, not meaning me, but the Israelis who were there, you people, you're so easy, you're so easy. You don't know what it was like before you came here. You don't know what King Hussein was like. They used to laugh back then because it was a very light administration. And there weren't a lot of police, now, of course, it's a horror show. But that's what the peace process brought on. People always think the peace process is going to bring peace. No, the peace process often brings war. But people are just they don't get it. They don't understand how that can be. And because they weren't there, they don't know how peaceful it was. after '68, and people there were very happy in a way because, you know, they were allowed to do their free enterprise. They didn't have police sitting on them. There were television sets going up everywhere, the television antenna. People were building onto their houses. Everyone was buying modern utensils and stuff like that. I was living on the West Bank, I know. Maybe we'll write it one day. My wife has a better memory of it than me, so maybe I'll let her write it, but she doesn't like to write. Anyway, I'll tell you another funny story. My wife used to go to work on a bus into Jerusalem from there and take another bus to, she worked on the Jewish Encyclopedia as a picture editor. And she used to watch this, some of the men would come on the bus with them, and they'd be all dressed in their keffiyehs and so on and so forth. The minute they got to the central bus station in downtown Jerusalem, they took off their keffiyehs, took off their whatever they were wearing, and they put T-shirts, short pants, you know, and they would just become modern sort of people. They'd go back, wrap themselves up, go back on the bus, you know, and so on and so forth. One day I was sitting in front of the post office downtown, you know, and there, everyone was on the East Jerusalem side, and the Israelis used to do a lot of hitchhiking back in those days, particularly the soldiers. They never provided for the soldiers, and there was this young girl in the army with a submachine gun and a short, you know, mini skirt sort of thing, you know, and so on. And all the Arabs who I was sitting with were like ogling, and I guess maybe I was watching her too. And they said, and we were talking, and they said, I forget how the conversation went, and they said something like, "One day we shall take all this back," or something like that. And I forget how it went, or they said, "When? How shall we do?" That was what the conversation was. How shall we take all this back, or when? And I said, "When your women look like that." And they said, "Never." And I said, "Well, you'll never do it then." But a funny conversation. Another conversation like that, when Hamas was born, I was in this antiquities dealer in the old city of Jerusalem. He was a very Hamas kind of guy. I didn't know what Hamas was at that time, but he was always telling me, there's a new party, and so on and so forth. I said, oh, interesting. And so he would tell me all about what was going on with this new party and what it thought. And so we got to one point, and we're talking about atomic missiles and weapons. And I said, well, you know, if you shoot off atomic missiles or weapons or things, you're going to get blown up too. And I'll never forget it. He said to me, Fadlan means welcome, welcome, Fadlan, Fadlan, let them come, let them come. You know? So this is this is my introduction to Middle East politics, you see. You have to kind of live in some of these areas to get the feel for it, but I'm just telling you, Jimmy Carter is out to lunch, let me tell you that. You know, it's really sad, as is the Baker Committee.